Welcome to the Crypto Campfire.
They're the pink starburst of the pack, Mitch and the Professor, featuring special guest, Olya Moskalenko.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Crypto Campfire podcast. This is the Professor.
And Mitch.
And today we're going to be talking with Olya Moskalenko, the CCO of Anchor. But before we start talking to her, let's grab that crypto news from the Crypto Gent.
Thanks, Professor. Hello, Crypto Campfire listeners, and welcome to the Crypto Currencies in a Flash with the Crypto Gent. An Attorney General says that an Israeli bank should deny services to crypto firms. Gemcoin founder admits to fraud in $147 million scheme. And Fortress Financial Group increases buyout over Mt. Gox claims. That's the cryptocurrency news in a flash with the Crypto Gent. And it's back to you, Professor.
Thanks a lot, Crypto Gent. So Mitch, how are you feeling today? I know it's been a long one for you.
It has. I'm kind of undecisive on that right now. I mean, I'm better now that I'm in the podcast. That's for darn sure. I definitely enjoyed watching the market movements today, and seeing everything go up. That was that was fun to watch.
Sometimes a few green candles can really turn your spirits around, but so can a podcast. And this one's going to be really awesome. Olya is the CCO of Anchor, which is a stable coin. Kind of interested in learning more about that because, you know, we've been in the crypto space for a little while, but at least I myself haven't really dove deep into the rabbit hole of stable coins.
Not deep enough, no.
I'm hoping today can give us some enlightenment on that front. So,
oh yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to learning some about that for sure.
Totally, it's going to be exciting. So, without further ado, Olya, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to delve into stablecoins and the greater blockchain market. And it's interesting that you were saying about, you know, it's wonderful to see the increase in the market today, although it's a bit of a double-edged sword because I think that the spike is because of the horrible conflict and consequences that are happening now with Iran. So I feel like, you know, whenever there is any type of political turmoil or geopolitical tensions, it's good for the crypto industry because people know that, you know, they can't really trust like the current system, and they try to always find a way to protect their finances and protect their holdings in crypto. And I think that stablecoins have actually gained popularity because of that as well. But as a response to the volatility of the crypto market. So as we're seeing, a lot of money is moving into crypto, especially during these turbulent times. However, Bitcoin, as we've seen, is extremely volatile with its crazy price swings. So the advent of stablecoins came about. And the funny thing that I think is ironic is we call them stablecoins, but most stablecoins on the market right now are backed by fiat currencies, and the fiat currencies themselves are not actually stable. Even if you look at the US dollar, which is, you know, the world's currency reserve, it's actually lost its purchasing power over 55% in the last 25 years. On average, it declines by 2.5% per year. So if you're saving, you know, for your retirement or your college savings fund, you're looking at a huge loss. And that goes the same with the British pound, the renminbi, as well as the top 10 most traded fiat currencies have all greatly depreciated. So currently, the stablecoin market is mainly collateralized by fiat. Of course, we have the cryptocurrencies like Dai, which are hybrid, as well as ones that are backed by, you know, gold or other commodities. But as we've seen, obviously, Tether and other fiat-backed currencies are dominating the market. So what Anchor is kind of a solution to the issues with the current monetary system because basically the current stablecoins are susceptible to the same vulnerabilities of our traditional fiat system. So what Anchor's done is created a stable index that's similar to the SDR, except the SDR is based on a basket of 5 currencies, which only gets updated every 5 years. We're based on a basket of currencies from 10 of the strongest economies, which is updated annually. Furthermore, the SDR is inclusive, so only to its member countries, whereas Anchor is inclusive and available to all. So this index, which we call the monetary measurement unit, basically tracks different macroeconomic indicators such as global GDP, looking at more than 190 countries, FX indicators, premium sovereign bond yields, as well as many other factors that contribute to creating global GDP in order to create an objective measure of value that exists in the world today. So unlike the US dollar, which is even linked to gold or anything real at the moment, I mean, money itself isn't even real. What we're trying to create is an index that is actually based on something real, like global GDP and value. So it's a stable coin that's pegged to something stable, because the global economy, unlike fiat currencies which depreciate, has actually a predictable and sustainable growth trend. If we look back historically, global GDP back in the 1960s was 1.3 trillion, and now it's at over 88 trillion. So we see that there is a predictable and sustainable growth trend, and that's basically what we've based our financial index and our value peg to. So our token Anchor basically mirrors the growth trend of the global economy. And the way that we ensure that it has long-term price stability and that it's resilient to inflation and is a reliable and safe hedge against daily market risk is by using a 2-token model. So it kind of follows the senior odd shares principle, where we have our main currency token, which is the Anchor token, and that's what can be used as a payment token. And then we have the doc token, which is kind of like a share, and that it cannot be traded, but it can be swapped for anchors during a contraction or expansion phase. So basically, it's an elastic supply and demand principle, burning or minting tokens as needed, depending on the supply and demand, so that there's always price stability. And we have maintained our price stability since we've launched in August. We launched on Liquid, and in November we launched on IDEX. And we've remained at a constant 0.79 USD, which is steadily and slowly growing as the global GDP expands as well. We've had a really exciting run over the last year. There's been so many changes in the market, and I think that it's very exciting to see it mature. And it's really exciting to see what's actually going to work. And now we're in the phase of actual real life use cases. So using Anchor not just on exchanges for crypto trading, but also we're actually developing a pilot project for our first use case for global remittances. As we all know, global remittances are extremely high. On average, you're paying like 6.84% transaction fees, and just some take days until you get your money. So for a family emergency, and if you're a migrant worker in a poor country, like for example, I used to live in Dubai, which has one of the largest migrant populations and one of the highest remittances in terms of sending back to home countries such as India or the Philippines, and they're charged like an arm and a leg, and it's just not fair. So we're making sending and receiving money just more accessible and more inclusive, higher speeds, lower costs, and I think that it's really exciting to actually see it in reality and see it existing and see this new evolution for global payments and digital finance.
That's awesome. So one thing I was going to ask you, you kind of almost actually ended up answering for me, but I still want to talk about it a little bit. I was going to ask how you foresaw stablecoins evolving as traditional currencies begin to collapse or be replaced by cryptocurrencies. And it's almost sounding to me like Anchor is designed to be that next evolution. Is that?
Yeah. No, actually, that's a great question, because that's exactly how I kind of describe Anchor, right? Currently, fiat-pegged stablecoins are dominating the market because we're most familiar with them, right? We know that they're backed by money. We use money. So it's like, okay, it's just kind of like a digitized version. But at the same time, it's just, I think it's kind of like a stepping stone in order to get to the real solution, and in order to get to the real next phase of what the global economy is going to look like. So it's basically just a slow progression and a natural evolution in a way. It's kind of going organically that way. Anchor is using the power of algorithms, mathematics, science, in order to create an objective measure of value and a currency that is non-correlated to market conditions. So people don't have to be worried about recessions or, if or a nuclear war, and they know that God forbid, but with the way things are going, you never know. So you want to just make sure that it's safe. Like for short term, it's a safe hedging mechanism. And for long term, you know that you're not going to lose your purchasing power, and your value is going to, rather than depreciate, slowly and steadily actually increase.
So why are there so many of them? I don't understand why the market would need as many as I've seen as of late.
Well, I think it's kind of like, you can think of the, the Y2K www era, where a bunch of these tech companies and .coms were popping up, and a lot of them are scams. So as the market matures, the real ones, the Googles and the Amazons and whatnot, they'll weed out, and you'll see them rise.
So what does the user have to go on as far as what gives those stable coins credibility? I mean, with as many as there are out there, it's going to take loss of individuals in order to spread the word about the bad ones. That doesn't make sense. I mean, there's got to be a way to circumvent that. And I mean, is there any kind of proof of backing, so to speak, that a stable coin has that creates that stability?
Look at what happened with Tether. That's an excellent example of something, a stable coin that people actually trusted. They said that they were pegged 1-to-1 with the US dollar. And then we find out all of these scandals, it's actually only I think 74% backed by the US dollar. And then the whole thing with Bitfinex.
Well, right. So what do we do as consumers, or what can stablecoins do as projects to prove the backing?
Well, I think that audits should be mandatory. I believe that Tether never allowed any external audits to be done. So I think that having auditing is very important, and also a governing body. So Anchor, we actually have a governing body. We're going to be onboarding 21 validators to create a decentralized trustless system. And they're going to be, from different organizations, institutions, establishments, all with competing priorities to ensure non-collusion. So I think that when you have, that's the power of blockchain, is when you have a decentralized trustless system, that type of ecosystem, it will eventually weed out the scammers. And I think that people are also kind of, they're not as hyped up about it anymore. So actually, a lot of people are skeptical from the get-go. So you have to really earn people's trust. You have to really make an effort to engage with the community. We've actually traveled all over the world, doing a global roadshow in order to meet and connect with the crypto community at different conferences. We've hosted events. We've been to events, roundtable dinner. So you're actually doing face-to-face engagement. You have, even though it's technology, and even though we have social media, I think that it's really important to get up and away from the screen and actually have that person-to-person human contact. So they see that it's real people. You're not bots. You have, you build credibility. You have a reputation, and you build your business just like any other industry.
So let me ask you this, and just I'm trying to wrap my head around it more or less by asking these questions. The next question I have about this is, okay, so with blockchain and having a ledger, we can see pretty much everything that has to do with transaction, right? Mm-hmm. So is there anything in place from a stablecoin that shows the liquidity of what's backing that stablecoin? Does that make sense?
Right. So that's what I was saying about the audits, but those are specifically also very important for coins that are saying that they're backed by gold, or backed by the US dollar or the British pound or whatnot. So I think they should prove that they actually have that backing, and they should be audited by a third-party external firm. And I think that that's probably also in future development, right? Like having these governing bodies that go in and can actually look at the ins and outs of a company. Right now, I think the SEC is just shutting everything down, like, that they're not even allowing, they're investigating everything to shut it down. They're not investigating it in order to help the industry prosper. And this is in the States, so people and companies and like money is just leaving the U.S. Like I live in New York, and I look out my window, and all of these towers on 57th Street, Billionaires Row, they've just been standing there, not being developed for months, because all the money is leaving the U.S. because I feel like the environment and the landscape is not allowing for innovation to thrive, and we're really seeing the consequence for that.
Okay, so user trust aside and confidence as far as trusting the backing goes, what about on the tech side of it? What consensus mechanism does Anchor run off of?
So we have a governing body, or we will be having a governing body of 21 validators. So as I mentioned, it's going to be established.
Oh, so those will be utilized for the actual consensus.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, in our system, there's what we call a validator dashboard, and basically all of the different macroeconomic indicators and like data on a daily basis. So everything from Forex indicators and GDP from each country and premium sovereign bond yield, as well as many other factors. Validators will be able to see all this information in order to assess it and say, okay, yes, this is accurate, and this actually is all of these macroeconomic indicators are truly tracking the growth of the global economy, and these values, they exist and they are real, and it's actually based on what we're saying it's based on. So this governing body is basically going to be able to vote yes, vote up or vote down if information is valid, if it needs to be updated, and in order to ensure the integrity of the monetary measurement unit and ensure the integrity of Anchor's price.
Okay, so it's almost sort of like a micro version of what Libra was trying to implement as far as the governing body goes from the validation side.
Well, I'm laughing at that because it's so funny you mention it. As soon as as soon as Facebook announced Libra, everyone on our team was like, did they find our white paper and copy us? No, and I know it sounds like crazy that I'm saying Facebook copied us, but literally there's so many similarities, and we're like the small dog, right? So we've been building ourselves for the last year, doing PR marketing, roadshows to try to build our brand. And as soon as we launched and started gaining some traction, all of a sudden Facebook releases this. And so, what do we do not to be cannibalized by this big social giant? However, obviously right now, I think things are at a halt for them because of how massive they are. Governments see it as a threat. And how we have a lot of similarities with the governing body and, different basket of currencies and bonds and things like that, and being a global currency. But where we're different is we don't want to compete with the governments and the banks. We actually want to work hand in hand with them, because there's a place for all of us in this ever-changing financial ecosystem. And I think it's really important that we actually work together to make something that's stable and viable, rather than trying to replace or threaten the existence of the current players. We should just all kind of have a consensus to grow together, so we can really enter this new decade with stability in mind, really, so that we don't have to worry about another recession or whatnot. Like I think if we all kind of work together and collaborated, we could really have some kind of a stable system, a global system that even the unbanked can finally have inclusion.
I think that ties into the entire unity of the globe. I know, to the professor and myself, that's what cryptos are all about, is creating this unity of drive, right? And this unity of innovation, because that's what cryptos has really brought to the surface, if you think about it. But I do have one question for you. Are you a Star Wars fan at all?
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm not, but I actually do know.
We're going to have to cut this off right now.
Oh, cut it off.
Yep. Sorry, we're going home. Sorry. Too late. We forgot to mention that was part of the mission.
Yeah, right. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, I actually know Hayden Christensen, who played, what was it, Skywalker back in the day with Natalie Portman.
You met 50 Cent too, didn't you?
Yeah, that's so funny. How'd you know?
We have a pretty good research department.
We have our ways, yeah.
You did a background. Yeah, so 50 Cent was actually my very first interview.
Cool. Oh,
and
nice.
I was so nervous. And I remember he was actually so nice, and he could tell I was nervous, but he was really cool and actually calmed my nerves, and it was really fun. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That was when I worked at Virgin in Dubai. So and Dubai was such an emerging market. And I feel like I've always, been really drawn to emerging markets, whether it's a region or an industry. Just being on the frontier and being part of making history is really exciting.
Oh yeah, totally. And they continue to be an emerging market. I mean, they are the innovation in Dubai is just insane. It all ties into that working together thing. Like you were talking about earlier, like we have these tools. We can literally get on a call right now with 100 people from across the world, video and all, screen sharing, like there's a damn whiteboard right there. And you're telling me that we all still can't work together because of political differences and all that? Of course, because that's human nature. But sometimes it's so frustrating. Like we have all these tools and together we can build amazing things, and we are. But take that to the next level, put your differences aside and keep going.
I agree.
Boom.
Well, and that is the beautiful part of blockchain. Even competitors in the blockchain industry collaborate, because you have to have unity in order to succeed and drive mainstream adoption and drive the industry forward.
Well, if it never gets adopted, none of us win.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the bottom line there. If this doesn't keep moving forward, nobody wins. And if nobody wins, why did we all play? And I think it's just become such a much larger picture than that. I'm actually really not flabbergasted, but impressed that you met 50 Cent. That would have been super cool. And the reason I asked the Star Wars question is because I wanted to kind of loosen things up a little bit. We were really into a deep conversation about the stablecoins, and your explanation of it has been incredible. When did you get started into crypto, and why? Why are you here other than for Anchor?
So that's a great question. My background has always been in public relations. So I've worked in PR all over the world, from Toronto, London, Barcelona, Dubai, and it's always been to do with technology, like Hewlett Packard and Virgin, which is a huge multimedia brand in the Middle East, as well as finance. I had clients such as like JP Morgan Morgan and Barclays when I was at Porto-Novelli. And at Edelman, I worked with the Abu Dhabi government investment arm called Mubadala. So those things combined, as well as as I mentioned, like my passion for emerging markets and always being drawn to that, I found myself actually with the opportunity at Waxman PR. So now I live in New York, as I briefly mentioned, and I had actually left my previous PR agency to raise my baby, because unfortunately in the US at that time, like, you didn't have maternity leave, only up to 6 weeks, and I just needed more time. So getting back into the industry, like, I kind of had, the world was my oyster, and blockchain actually came to me. I was headhunted by a PR company called Waxman. They're one of like the leading PR firms in the blockchain industry. And, I had heard of Bitcoin, and I had a lot of friends that were investing in Bitcoin during the big craze, but I didn't know much about it. And then with the opportunity from Waxman, I really did a huge deep dive, as you said, went deep down the rabbit hole, and I was just enthralled because I knew that this is the future. I became a believer, like, the more and more I learned about it, and I definitely knew that I wanted to be at the frontier of this emerging industry and help make history happen. And so I worked at Waxman. Through there, that's when I came upon Anchor. I had, working at a PR agency, you come upon many, many projects. When I came upon Anchor, that's when I knew that this is actually something really special. It's something different. It's something that can really make a difference, I think, because it's truly disruptive. It's creating something that's objective and that can actually preserve your purchasing power, which really means a lot. Because if you don't even realize how inflation kind of erodes your wealth. It's kind of like a slow poison, but eventually, I mean, if you're saving for your retirement, like, you want to have a currency that maintains its value so you can still have the life you deserve and that you've earned.
So I'm kind of curious, other than the financial side of things, have there been any potential applications or use cases of blockchain as a technology that have caught your attention?
I think that it's really cool for music. So basically using blockchain to pay artists all over the world. I have a friend who works actually like at a music company in Brooklyn, and they have a lot of issues paying their artists for music and for their talent in places like Russia or Iran, or places where it's difficult to get money, or there's sanctions or whatever. So for artists, like, I'm a big lover of music, so I think that the ability to for artists to share their music, to share their art, and actually be able to get paid for it through blockchain, that's pretty cool for me. I think that application, real world, is important because we need music, we need art, and people deserve to get paid for it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I mean, the whole concept of content distribution on the blockchain is really powerful. And I mean, our computing levels are not really quite there yet as far as distributing that much content over the internet and storing that much, in a decentralized fashion. But as capabilities increase, we can start doing things like actually storing the content on the blockchain and serving it in a distributed fashion, and doing things like Vibravid is doing right now, and several others, where ad money comes in and it gets distributed automatically right to the content creators through the blockchain. So, I mean, there's a lot of really cool things, especially in the music world and the entertainment world, coming down the pipe.
I think that's one of the biggest things that's happened in this whole environment is all of the applications, the dApps, the open source that people can use and don't necessarily have to pay for. I mean, look at all the apps that have been created for wallets, for cryptosphere, for the cryptosphere. Just as an example, there's so many, and Beatscoin is one of them. I mean, you can actually Beats and Vibravid So it benefits the content creator, and people don't, like you or I, to listen to it, don't necessarily have to pay for that. So it's kind of cool, all the open source stuff, I think, within the sphere.
Yeah, it's endless. And I believe that blockchain will be ubiquitous across like all industries, not just like finance. And we're already seeing this. And it's going to be just like how you use your iPhone. You don't even think about it, right? Everything's just there. And blockchain is also just going to be there, and it's going to assist with all types of transactions and sharing content and distribution.
And the best part is that we're still laying the building blocks, putting together good wallets and stable coins and all those little pieces that go together to build an ecosystem that then can be built on top of.
I think Hedera Hashgraph has actually done an excellent job creating that infrastructure for dApps to be able to build upon. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of Hedera Hashgraph?
I have.
Yeah. So I think like they're one of those that I think really stand out and will definitely thrive as the market continues to mature.
I'm just super excited at the opportunity to start building applications that can take advantage of the concept of microtransactions and being able to interact with other machines on a financial level without having to trust a third party, because that opens up so much stuff for we've got a massively connected future ahead of us. We're starting talking about automated cars / drone deliveries and the Internet of Things. All the stuff goes together. And once you add that transactional layer to it, it all starts to work.
Yeah. Well, I actually have a question for you, describing how, everything is going to kind of be globalized, right? It's like, I love the idea of borderlessness. However, it's also a bit, scary to think of like that one world order as well. Like, where do you foresee the future in terms of that? Like, do you think there's going to be like a fine line between globalization in a positive sense, and then that kind of deteriorating of the, I don't know, like more traditional ways?
Oh yeah, I totally get where you're going with that. I mean, because I like to venture down this rabbit hole frequently. So here we go.
I'm ready for it.
The future is going to be very scary.
Right.
But there's also going to be a lot of really beautiful, wonderful things too. And at the same time, like if you look at today and then compare it to 50 years ago, it's the same type of sci-fi extrapolations that we're going to make today about the next 50 years. So you start talking to people then about, well, now you're going to have money on little plastic cards, and they're going to be like, oh, that's going to be so amazing, super easy transacting. But at the same time, it seems like it's going to be a lot easier to get your money stolen. And guess what? They were right on both accounts. Yeah.
My phone was actually just stolen when I was in Miami, and I can't even get into my Coinbase account now.
Right. That's the thing. There's risks. There's every time you make an advancement, there are things that you have to pay attention to. There are always caveats. Mm-hmm. And how those are managed really determines how the next 5 years go. I mean, okay, yeah, sure. Let's say we get to the point where let's go way out. Let's go way out on a limb here and say that we've got automated drone deliveries. Things are automatically delivered to you. You're using AFID or whatever comes of it, and your downloaded personality is being used as an AI bot making its own money, and it pays everything for you. You never have to think about anything. You just got to go screw with whatever and have a good time, and your digital personality takes care of all of it, right? Like super sci-fi. But at the same time, now there's super crazy control. Everything is going through one system. Could have control over everything in your life if they had the right access, or if they hacked the right thing, or et cetera.
Well, they already know exactly where you are. Everyone already knows exactly where you are. You can be located so easily. I mean,
right. We're like almost there. We're on the verge of that. Like with people like OnStar and those car things, and like you hear all the commercials about, plug this into your ODB port and your insurance company will track your driving habits and make sure that, those are the little small steps that start going towards, and we can go full 1984 on this if we really want to, right? Like we really, really can. And because the more connected you get, the higher at risk you are.
Exactly.
And the less you actually talk face to face to people too.
Right. I probably interact with more people online than I do during a day. And I work with like 100 users doing IT stuff for 8 hours a day, because that's how the world is going. And then the more automation that we get, the less people actually have to physically go to work. And so that just further amplifies that. So yeah, I mean, the future is going to look really crazy. It's probably not going to look like the aforementioned totally digital downloaded personality, I kind of went off on tangent with. But
Well, good. Should write a book.
Yeah, that was about 100 years down the road.
Exactly.
I look at it like this. I think that, a global economy, a global currency that is borderless has a lot of benefits, in that it brings a lot of level, a little bit more level playing field, so to speak, for everybody in the world. But I also think that as long as we have egos, and as long as we have self-righteous people that are self-centered, or people that are more worried about themselves, I don't think we'll ever really see unity and change throughout the entire globe. And that starts with something way deeper than crypto. However, I think cryptocurrencies have started that feeling, have started that movement. But then again, that's my opinion on it.
Funnily enough, I feel like when we've traveled all over the world and met with people in the crypto community, a lot of them are actually quite spiritual. And a lot of them, I feel like, are working to let go of their ego and to really embrace crypto and the freedom and borderlessness that it gives them. So that way they're not like stuck to superficiality or materialism or to your conventional status quo and, how everyone wants you to be. Like,
right.
For example, I met, like the father of Bitcoin, Didi
Didi Taihuttu?
Yes.
Didi Taihuttu.
Exactly. I'm sorry, I just butchered his name, but yeah. So he was actually a guest speaker on one of our panels in Zug, Switzerland during the Crypto Valley conference, and he was just one of the coolest guys. So inspirational, and his views and perspective. It was very spiritual, like no ego, and he's like the father of Bitcoin. So I think it's also kind of cool to see that this movement and the people that are attached to it. Actually, maybe they can inspire others to also be more conscious and aware and kind as a humanity.
I think there's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about, changing. And the only way we're going to really adopt a new system or a new way of living or a new way of doing things is to get rid of the old. And by having structure, but when I say structure, by having hierarchies, by having tiers, by having levels of importance that people put themselves on, I don't think you'll ever get out of that old system. That needs to be left behind, like you said. And I think the spiritualness comes because, we actually see the benefits of it. We see the benefits of, look at just the collaborations, right? You look at everybody, let's just use crypto Twitter because that's what I use most of the time as a platform that engages people throughout the entire world, right? So we have all of these people in one space, so to speak, on your computer, and you're talking to these people and you're all working together mostly for the sole purpose. How else can that be achieved if you think about it? And in this broken system that we're currently in. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about the spirituality of it.
Yeah, blockchain and crypto has a soul. Definitely.
And there's like the deeper you get in the crypto space and the longer you're in here, you start, you notice people that are in it for the money, and it's pretty obvious. And there's people that are in it just for their own, I don't know, like concept of fame or whatever they're excited about. But
like Robert Wright, who wants to be, who claims to be, oh my God, why am I?
Craig Wright?
Right now?
Satoshi? Supposedly?
Yeah, can we pause that? Let's pause that part out. Yes.
Yeah.
Robert Wright.
You were probably going between Roger Ver and Craig Wright and that whole disaster. But yeah, no, I mean, that's it. There's toxic people in this space, but there's toxic people in every space. And like you said, with crypto, it's like the majority have discovered that this is an opportunity to kind of break free of the traditional restraints that we're dealing with. And another group of people are super fascinated by the technology and what it can bring as far as improvements in the world. And you start to get, associated with the people that are actually building and the people that are in this for the right reasons. And then you realize that you found your place. you can see the rest of all the garbage and all the shillers and all the influencers, quote unquote, and they can have their little spot, and that's fine. But we found the real movement, and it's fun to be deep in the middle of that, like you are. There's a lot to be said about actually just working and putting your head down through the bear market, not worrying about what the candles look like, because you're not here for that. You're here for the tech.
Definitely. And I actually got into crypto when it was the bear market. Everyone was pulling out, everyone was running for the hills. And I'm like, no, like you need to stay, when times are hard, that means that, there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And you don't want to be one of those that just kind of, left the ship because it was sinking.
Put your finger in the hole, fix it. Stop it from sinking, start bailing water, do whatever you got to do, but do not abandon ship.
Flexible that shit.
I believe that.
Right.
And like Anchors, so the reason I was also drawn to Anchor, our CEO, Daniel Popa, like his main goal, his main objective with this entire project is basically to have a large enough ecosystem where we can eventually start buying debt from countries in order to actually stabilize them and also put the anchor provide like the anchor system. So let me explain it better. So for example, like Marshall Islands and like other smaller nations that are looking to issue their own sovereign cryptocurrencies. So Anchor has the potential and the infrastructure to either for the country to use Anchor as their sovereign cryptocurrency, or to actually white label our infrastructure and our algorithms and the 2-token model, supply and demand, and everything that we have already developed and built in order to stabilize their own economies and protect themselves from inflation and also empower their citizens so that they can rest assured that what they've earned in their life still will remain and that they won't lose their purchasing power due to inflation.
We've talked a lot about other currencies and what their governments are going to do to replace them. Mm-hmm. And it always comes of like, okay, so is the government going to make their own blockchain and implement their own blockchain and run off of that? Or are they going to white label something, Mm-hmm. And, because as much as we'd all love to see every government in the world adopt Bitcoin, that's not going to happen. It would be unlikely that any government truly adopted Bitcoin as a national currency, but seeing them adopt and white label stablecoins or something similar is not out of the question. And I think it's probably actually pretty close time-wise. It's almost obvious for them to do it. It's just a matter of getting through the political hurdles that it takes to make that happen. Also, mindset of people. People don't really like change. So that's also a tricky thing. But anyway, I'm going to get down that rabbit hole too far. So I got to ask you one question before we wrap up here today. And Mitch has one for you too. But what is something you've only done one time so far in your life that you can't wait to do a second time?
Surfing. I surfed once when I was backpacking in Panama when I was like 19. And the instructor told me I had the soul of a surfer. And I've never had the opportunity to surf again, or the guts, I guess. So I would love the courage to, get out there in the waves and try surfing again.
Nice. I love that. I've actually never gone surfing myself. And that almost sounds like one hell of a first surfing experience too.
It's not easy. And my friend who was with me actually got bit by a stingray. So it was a whole dramatic experience, but it was fun.
Oh, geez.
Good stories to bring home, right?
Oh, we have, tons of stories. We went like hiking in a jungle. I had mud up to my thighs, but we were wearing like gold flip-flops and little like sundresses, definitely not prepared for the jungle. But and we were so scared because there was literally like pumas and wild animals there. So we started like singing just to distract ourselves from how scared we were. And why we were there is we were looking for a beach. And then finally we see the beach in the horizon and we're like, this is like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And there's this like Rastafarian island guy just standing there with a big bottle of rum and he offers it to us. It's like, wow, like this is thank you. It was like one of those surreal moments, like out of a dream. So
it's one of those moments that makes you wonder if you already finished that bottle of rum and you're just wishing there was another one.
Yeah, right. I don't know how to top that one. That was pretty damn good.
It's a great story.
So let me ask you this, and I don't know that we've really touched on this yet at all. What are your thoughts on making money? It's kind of a two-part question.
I want to make
what
a
are your
lot.
thoughts on? Well, right, but in what means, right? Like using this space to create an income, right? So are you're not, your focus is your focus more on the money, or is it more on the development for the future?
It's definitely not on the money at all. I mean, we're a startup. We've bootstrapped everything ourselves. So this is like our energy, our guts, our soul going into this project. At the moment, obviously we all are here to make money and we need to live and everything. But I think me, and I think I can also speak for everyone on the team, we're here to build this project. We really believe in it. We think it has a lot of potential to change. First starting with baby steps like the global remittance industry, then the e-commerce, and then onto like the greater goal of becoming a global currency that can really bring stability to people's lives, to businesses, to governments. So the journey for me is more important than the destination, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Looking back, I've actually been at Anchor now for 1 year this month, and it's been quite the journey. And I'm really excited for all the many exciting accomplishments we have yet to achieve.
So if you were to put a destination at the end of this journey, what would that destination be?
That's a deep one.
Yeah, that we would be a global currency similar to kind of what like Libra is striving, and we don't even have we would partner. I mean, I think we're also very happy to partner with the likes of Libra or Venus or Frax in order to drive this potential forward and make it a reality. Because I think that you need to have a coalition, since there are so many establishments, organizations, your traditional institutions that are against it, that are scared. And I think that we need to kind of create a coalition that says, we're not here to take over or replace the traditional institutions, but we can work hand in hand together to enter the future and really create something beautiful together.
No, I think we need to replace them. Definitely. I definitely think we need to replace the old financial institutions of the world because they're all corrupt. But that's my take on it.
Put them on the blockchain. We can take care of that.
That's right. This has been amazing. We've really enjoyed having you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was really a good one. I really enjoyed your input and your take on what this is all about for your project, Anchor.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I really appreciated you guys inviting me and talking to you. It was a lot of fun. So I hope to catch up with you guys soon, maybe in another year, and we'll have some fun updates to discuss and new topics to explore.
Absolutely.
That sounds great.
Stay in touch.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys so much. And I can't wait to listen to your next show and see who else you have coming up.
Awesome. Great to have you on.
Check him out.
We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great evening.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Man, that was a good podcast. I was really looking forward to learning a little bit more about the current stablecoin environment because I really haven't been looking at it too closely lately.
Me either.
I actually had never heard of Anchor, so I think Rebecca scheduled this one for us. I like the way they're going at it from a consensus side. But I still have the same concerns with this as I do with Libra, and she kind of expressed those same kind of concerns about what do you do from like a government standpoint and things like that. But
right.
I think if the direction is done well and they are cautious about how they implement it, I think it could do great things. So I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of competition in the stablecoin world.
God, there's too much, really. There's just way too many damn stablecoins out there right now. And
yep, there is. Well, I think and she kind of covered it pretty well in her answer, but I think the biggest issue is that nobody's really done it right yet.
No, they haven't, to be honest.
It's still a clusterfuck. They're still trying.
Right.
And I mean, totally admittedly, I don't know all of the existing stable coins in detail to be able to compare them to see if there's any, but I haven't seen any in the 3 years that I've been in crypto that have made me go, oh, that seems like a safe place to put all my money.
Right.
I'll take the volatility of Bitcoin in most cases.
Yeah.
Over that.
I mean, think about it. You know, the soundness, unless you have something physical backing it up, and realistically, the only physical valuable things that we know of today are gold, silver, and diamonds, really. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, the concept of value is going to shift massively over time.
Oh, sure it will. But I mean, until then, we still have to back that. They still have to back that stable currency with something that keeps its value. So, I mean, how can we get away from the monetary system of today and bring in this new one without really changing anything? Does that make sense? Because you're still backing them by fiat.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you're saying. That's sort of the thing I was getting at when I was wondering about, like, when stable coins are collapsing, how, excuse me, let me start over. That's kind of what I was getting at when I was wondering about how stable coins would evolve as traditional currencies collapse, because, you know, you value things right now in the US dollar, in our case, of course, and that's like your back, whether it's gold, you don't value it in ounces of gold. Like if you say a stable coin is backed by gold, you're going to say it's backed by every dollar of
value.
Stable coin is backed by $1 of gold.
Right.
So as currencies go tits up and you end up with like no real value from that standpoint, where does your value come from? And at the same time, is it going to be gold? Like, is that still going to be a useful commodity? Maybe not. Maybe we don't give a shit about it in 50 to 100 years and it's not worth anything.
Well, come on. I mean, sheep have value. Pigs have value.
Totally. Physical items will always have value. But
just
I mean,
a matter of what you want to use for trade.
Yeah, but think Bitcoin versus gold. Rather than dollar versus gold, think Bitcoin versus gold. We're moving away from physically valuable commodities to, I shouldn't say commodities because that really is a specific group.
So basically, an ounce of gold is worth 0.00465 Bitcoin.
Yeah, but think about why it has value. The gold has value because it's a physical thing that people want. There's a demand for it.
Sure. But
Bitcoin has value because of mathematics. Of mathematics.
Right, but it still boils down to supply and demand.
Exactly. So, but it's a new system of valuation. You know, it's not based on anything physical, yet it has value.
Right.
Right. It's finding a different sort of demand.
It all boils down to what we put our value in.
Right.
Really.
Exactly. And I think eventually that value is going to come down to data, number one, security, number two, and independence of money, number three.
Right.
And I think those three key factors are really going to determine what we see. And until we can find a way to build a stable coin that maintains its value based on those things, or at least a similar collection of things, we're always going to have that traditional problem of trying to value a stable coin based on something that doesn't have a stable value in the first place.
Right. No, I agree. You know what? At the end of the day, it's going to be a crazy ride. So stay on the board and stay in the tunnel.
Oh, yes.
Because it's going to be a crazy shoot.
And also go to coinflip.tech and check to see if there's a CoinFlip ATM in your area, because if there is, you got to go try it. I mean, it's a crypto ATM. If you haven't used one, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of fun being able to like shove fucking dirty cash in the machine and like get Bitcoins back. It's like, oh my God.
Right? Exactly.
It's addicting. The closest one is 150 miles from me, unfortunately, but you know what? It's still awesome. It happens.
But you know that CoinFlip's got our back, right?
Yeah, I know how to start making there be a few more. So we're going to have to open up some time so I can have some conversations, because CoinFlip will pay you to get business owners to put ATMs in their locations, and they'll pay the business owner too. So if you know of a place where you'd like to have a crypto ATM, or that you think a business owner could benefit from the extra income from a crypto ATM, then definitely reach out to CoinFlip and get one out there.
Or like in the professor's situation, if you have not the nearest CoinFlip but 150 miles from you, don't worry. They got us covered. You can buy it through their partner service of Simplex. So, right? Check that out.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. Crypto ATMs are definitely the way to go for ease of use. I really enjoy using them. And that's no bullshit. Seriously, I'll now that I got them close to my house, guess what? Mitch is going to the crypto ATM.
Going to the crypto ATM. You know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to build a rocket. That's it. So
build a rocket.
You guys, thanks for listening to the show. It's been a great time. We had a great time talking with Olya. Hope you guys learned something about stable coins because we sure as hell did.
Until next time, guys, you have a great evening. Don't forget, we do this because of you. We enjoy doing it. We're having a blast, and we hope you guys are too. So you guys have a good one. We will talk to you soon.
Take it easy.
Peace.